Place to start is with the business itself and not with the law. You have to understand your business, where it is today, both its strengths, its weaknesses, opportunities, where it's going, and then ultimately where it wants to be in the future. You need to understand your industry. You need to understand what your competitors are doing, what they're not doing. And then once you have that kind of macro vision, I would say you can then start to map the business priorities against what your legal priorities will be for your department. And I'll say that, and that's not static either. So you've kind of start with a macro skeleton, if you will. And then from there, step two, in my view, is you want to start to deepen that alignment. And the way to do that, I think, is to start building relationships. So get to know your colleagues in the business units, ask them what they're doing, ask them what they're working on, understand what their initiatives and priorities are. Ask to sit in on one of their team or group meetings to understand what they're working towards. That'll allow you to further tweak your priorities and deepen your alignment. I think effectively what you want to do is become a true part of the team, right? Be integrated in the team. And that means park the legalese. As a former GC, prepare a business plan for your legal department and use the same KPI and metrics that your business colleagues will use.
It's also an inherent part of our job is to sort of look forward to regulatory change, governmental change. And so how can you advise your company, your business about the implications of what's around the corner, what's coming up? And I think that's where you start to really dig into the language of the business, the things that are going to impact them, and it really enhances your impact. So, this is where you're not just coming in to do a presentation on a legal issue, but rather you're there with them thinking about and helping us imagine a future together. So I think that's really vital. I think our training, our inclination, and sometimes we feel like our role is to spot all the risks. And there are lots of them, absolutely. Risk taking is part of revenue generation, right? And you're trying to mitigate certain risks, or you're choosing to take specific risks, perhaps to enter a niche market or a different geography. So looking at where the strategy is going and how those risks map up against it. I think it's our job primarily as lawyers to help figure out the best way to tackle those risks and to also size those risks. Not all risks have the same likelihood of outcome. They don't all have the same impact. They're not all likely to happen. And so, we're not going to get points and we're not going to win the contest if we can identify the most problems. No one's going to win by doing that. No one's going to be invited to be part of the family if all you're doing is moaning about what could go wrong, but rather, how are we going to get through this? How are we going to be prepared if that happens? Why do we think that that's an unlikely risk to happen? And I think our colleagues really do look for us because they know that we have this really amazing role where we can have a bird's eye view of the organization, right? We're not just looking at the one product that this team is selling or the one slice of the organization or the business that your colleagues are in, but rather you have that sort of aggregate high level bird's eye view. So use it, right? Don't get lost in the weeds, in the trees, but stay at the forest level in the right forums. And then sometimes we do have to get right into the nitty gritty, but I think being able to kind of come out and then go back in is one of the things that are very unique about our training. And I think we don't always do the zoom out part of what we can do.